Okay, this morning we talked about the obsession, talked about the allergy. Okay, if somebody asked you, if they said to you, how do you solve problems? Want to solve a problem? Do you know how to do that? Yes or no? Look, there's three pieces to the puzzle. Want to solve any problem. Does not matter what the problem is. It could be finances, it could be plumbing, it could be your relationship, it could be drugs. There's three pieces to the puzzle you got to put together. You got to know the problem, got to know the solution, you got to have a plan of action that'll get you out of the problem to the solution. Now, if you put those three pieces to the puzzle together, problem, solution, plan of action, you can solve any problem. Now, how many of y'all come in here and you have no idea what your problem is? So therefore, you come up with a bunch of cockamamie solutions. So if you don't understand the problem and the solution is not right, the plan of action will be wrong. Once you understand the problem, the solution becomes real clear. Then you would be willing to take the plan of action. Everything you do in this program or don't do is going to hinge on how well you understand the problem. I've been to treatment 2 times, and I went to the same place both times. Wasn't here. When I went the very first time, I did not want to be there. And I know none of y'all in here are like that. I went to get people off of my ass. I had a probation officer forcing me. I had an ex-wife threatening me. I had children. I had family. They were all pushing and prodding me. So this is what I told them. I'll go. Because I needed a break anyway. So I go to this big book-based treatment center. I'm the model patient because I wanted their certificate of completion. So I could bring it back to that probation officer and the ex-wife and say, here, I did what y'all wanted. Leave me the hell alone. Now, when I went and they explained this to me, okay, and they told me about the physical allergy and the mental obsession. I got this part, but this part went whoop, right over my head. When they told me about putting one in, take your hat off. Thank you. When they told me every time I put one in, I'd set off the allergy and it will produce the craving, I got that part. Most alcoholics get that. But what most of y'all miss, and what you miss is how powerful it is. It's cunning, baffling, and it is powerful as hell. I want you to think of the most nearest, dearest thing that you have in this world. What is it? Your grandmother. When that kicks in with you to you, is it like Granny don't exist? That's powerful to do that to you, huh? How many of y'all have ever been to EBR? Hellhole. Have you ever said this? When this obsession kicked in, did it overrule EBR? Everything. That's powerful to do that to you, huh? Look, what most of people miss, I did it, is the obsession. Now, can we do anything about the allergy? Nothing. You got it? You got it. Look, I will be an alcoholic until the day they put dirt on me. But what I don't have anymore is, now, fast forward 2 years from that first treatment. From the time I went to treatment the first time to the second time, I lost everything. Everything. Sleeping under, everything. Now, when I got back the second time to the same treatment center, they started explaining this. I went, mother. That's what I missed. So when it came time to doing this, a herd of horses couldn't have stopped me. Now, if you ain't ready to do this, this is going to get you ready. And look, some people, it's just sad to say, have to go get some more of this before they're ready to get some of this. But if you're like me, an alcoholic, there's 2 programs for me. There's mine and there's this one. And if you like me, yours has gotten you here. Now, how many of y'all don't really want no more of that action? But how many of y'all really don't want to do that shit? Come on. Look, I get it. I get it. And what a lot of y'all do is still fool yourself into thinking you can make this work somehow, someday, some way. That's what you've been doing. That's what you've been trying to do. And it keeps getting worse. Now, what is the solution? Okay. Now, the solution is 2 parts. And the solution centers in step 2. And what they told me was, do I believe? I don't have to know shit. Do I believe if I do these 2 things? If I get involved in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I do the program called Alcoholics Anonymous, that it can help. I said, yeah, I do believe that. He said, you just did step 2. And the only way you would believe it can help you is if you did step 1. Most people don't want help because they really don't see where they're at. How many of y'all have ever heard the prodigal son? I'm going to tell you the drunk version. He told his father, I want mine inheritance now. So he gave it to him. He spent it on wine, women, and songs. Sound like one of us. And he ended up in the pig pen. Sound like one of us. Now, he's in the pig pen with this other guy, and they slop in the hole. They've been slopping them for months. One day he tells the guy next to him, he says, hey, I think the servants are eating better at my father's house. He says, I think I'm going to go back to my father's house. I'm in the pig pen. Guy next to him says, fuck, you've been here. He couldn't see anything better until he saw he was in the damn pig pen. How many of y'all dying inside, but you're shucking and jiving like everything's fucking honky-dory? And you don't want to admit you're in the damn pig pen. When you see where you're at, that's the only time you can see something better. Now, do you think I came in the door with little jingle bells on my ankles going, woo-hoo! I get to work the steps? I did not. But the alternative didn't look too good to me. Now, if you're sitting in here, I know y'all think y'all got a bunch of decisions to make. You really don't. If you're sitting in here, you got one decision to make. One. You can stay here, or you can come here. How many of y'all, since y'all been here, you sobering up, this thing's coming on? Now, all of a sudden, you have more business than the President of the United States does. And you say shit like, gotta get a job. I gotta get the kids back. Gotta get a wife. Gotta get some bling bling. See, if all that shit would have worked, you wouldn't be in here. Because every one of us has had some shit before. Some more than others, but we've all had shit before. Now, the fellowship. If somebody asked you, where do you think the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous is? What would you say?
Where do I think it is?
Yeah. Here in Denham?
Oh. I mean, at
Yeah.
a meeting?
That's it. Look, the fellowship is going to the meeting. Now, in these meetings, what you get is a lot of support. Now, if you get nothing else out of today, I want you to listen to this. When I went the first time to treat, I missed this part. So when I got out, guess what I did? I went to a bunch of meetings. I didn't think I needed to do the steps because I really didn't understand that. Most people who come through treatment, Ricky, and just go to meetings, they miss this. So they think all they have to do is go to the meetings. Now, somebody who has this problem that just goes to meetings, will it work for a little while? Yeah. But what happens is, if they're just going here, they keep, and this will start working on them. Now, I get out the first time, and I know they're watching me. I know the PO is, I know the ex-wife is. They can't wait to sit the lawyers on me. And I know that. 6 months go by. Everything is fucking great. And I'm going. Big deal. I'm just gonna keep going. I like these other motherfuckers. About right going into the 6th month, guess what starts working on me again? About midway through the 6th month, it gets through. Guess what I did? When I came up for air about 2 weeks later, all of them were waiting. And they did exactly what they said they were going to do to me. Now, fast forward 2 years, everything's gone. Nobody's pushing me and prodding me because they ain't around no more. And I tell myself, you need some help. I go the second time because I want to be there. I don't go because I need to. I go because I want to. And I've never looked back. Ever, never, ever. Now, when I got out the second time, I was all up in that bitch. I'd go pick people up, bring them to meetings. I did service work. I did fifth steps. I did sponsorship. I did whatever it took. Just like the dope game. I did whatever it took. Now, the difference this time was I actually did what the first 103 pages of the big book said. And I started to have this little spiritual awakening or this personality change. I'm telling you, if you're sitting in here, and you just go to, you're keeping, you're gonna use again. And it's gonna come at the most inopportune time. And it's gonna do this to you. Bam!
True.
I see people get out of these treatment centers. They build shit up. Couple, 2, 3, 4 months. They're going to some meetings, going to IOP, they're doing it. But sponsors, steps they do, nothing. How many times you been through? How many?
Me?
No. Ricky, how many?
Oh, boy.
Do you go to this?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you never do.
No.
We didn't rehearse this before class. I see it over and over and over and over. The biggest mistake new people make is they just go to meeting and they think everything's gonna be fine. And I'm telling you, it won't be. Now, what's telling you you're different in the meetings will be okay? What's telling you that?
Obsession.
See, it's telling you you got some shit that you ain't got. And the shit you actually got is telling you you ain't fucking got it. Cunning, baffling, powerful. If you show me an alcoholic that has never been treated, I'll show you a con artist. Con artist, we good. And the one we con the most, you think you good? It'll con artist into believing they can use again. Now, I know that if I use again, the PO's locking me up. I know that. I know they're not gonna let me see my kids again. I know that. I know my family's fed up and they ain't letting me nowhere around their property or this shit no more. I know all that. When that got a hold to me, it overruled all that. And it would tell me shit like, they ain't really gonna do that. I mean, shit, they threatened you before. Now, how many of y'all have been to treatment? How many of y'all? You got out, did you go to some meetings?
Yes, sir.
If you never did, what happened?
I relapsed.
Well, you didn't relapse. You just used again.
Yeah, I used it again.
See, people use that term real loosely. If you actually look at that word, relapse, you gotta make a lap to relapse.
Right.
See, you'd have to take the steps. You'd have to make a lap to read. Most people don't relapse. They just pick back up, do what they've always done. But they'll say, I relapsed. Now, if you have the obsession and you have the allergy, you are powerless. Now, have you ever heard of Stevie Wonder? Huh? He's a blind musician. Stevie Wonder could see. If you power less, the solution has to be. Now, how many of y'all already think you got that shit? Well, you have to. Because how many of y'all been trying to remove that on your own?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How many of y'all have ever come up off a bad spree and you said, I'm done? Yes, I'm done. I love my family too much. I'm done. I don't want to go back to EBR. I'm done. You're trying to do something humanly impossible, and that's remove. That's what you've been trying to do. That's why you pick back up every time. Now, yes, and now taps me into, and when I'm tapped into it, this is what removes. See, most people come in here and they think the steps are going to keep them sober. That's not what the steps are for. The steps are designed to tap you into power, and that's what keeps you sober. Now, how do you tap into it? By sitting in a meeting, doing the steps. And most of y'all never tap into it. You're around it, but you never tap into it. Now, that receptacle, that is a power source. I guarantee you, if you took a paper clip, you undid it, you stuck both sides in there, it's a power greater than, and it would knock you on your ass. Now, if I took a vacuum cleaner and set it around that power, would it work?
No.
Huh?
No.
Well, it's around it. If I took the cord and tapped it in, would it work?
Plugged it in.
That's what I just
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
Tapped it in. Would it work?
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
turn it on, yeah.
How many of y'all have been around the power your whole life? But you've never tapped into it. Now, step 3 tells me we've given you the problem. We've given you time for you to decide which one you want more. Do you want to remain there, or do you want to keep your power? Now, your actions in here prove which one you want more. How many of y'all's actions have proved you good with that? You do just enough to get. How many of y'all, since y'all been here, y'all all in? Now, decision. This is a yes or no question. All you got to do is raise your hand if you believe decisions change shit. I want you to raise your hand if you believe decisions change shit. But don't go like this. Go. All right. How many of y'all believe decisions change nothing? Decisions change absolutely nothing. Decisions imply action. How many of y'all made decision after decision after decision to get your shit together? After you made the decision, you did nothing. So your decision remained a decision. You can decide all day long to come here, but you're really still. Now, how do you carry out decisions? Action. It's got to be the right action. Now, if I told you, go jog around the facility 20 times, is that action? Is it the right action? No. And you won't take the right action unless you see where you are and see where you want to go. Now, the way I carry out step 3, get out of the problem into the solution, is by taking steps 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And these are the action steps. And they have precise, clear-cut directions on how to take them in the book. Now, one of your problems is you can't follow no, precise, clear-cut direction. We give you the rules. They're precise. Don't walk and smoke. How many of y'all would give you the rules and they're written out, precise, and you can't follow them? Now, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If somebody like me takes those steps like the book says, guess what I'm going to tap into? Power. Now, who can tell me if I take steps 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9? What does that remove? Huh? Who said self? Bingo. This is what the action steps remove. When self's removed, guess what I flow into? Power. And the way I keep self out the way, now, the first time they told me something like that, I really didn't understand what they were talking about. I want y'all to turn y'all's big books to page 55. Look, I know they fed y'all some fine cuisine for lunch, but wake up. Come on, wake up. Okay, now, I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to this. If somebody asked you, where do you believe? Where do you believe God is? Or what were you taught growing up? Where were you taught God was? Where were you taught? Huh? Look, I was taught he was up in heaven. What were you taught? You? What were you taught? Now, everywhere. Well, if he's everywhere, you better get up. You sitting on his ass. Now, I want you to think about this. Your conception of God, whatever it is, it ain't none, it is some, whatever it is. How well is it working for you? And how many of y'all want to hold on to the same conception? Now, when I was growing up, this is what I was taught. God's in heaven. He's up on this cloud. He's watching everything you do. I'm going, well, that fucking sucks. And every time you do something wrong, he's chiseling out on this big old tablet. Now, that was at about 10 or 11. At 12, my conception grew a little bit. This was my conception of God at 12. He got to be tired of fucking chiseling. I want you to think about this. When you first started using, many of y'all were young, 10, 11, 12, 15, 17. How many of y'all? When somebody starts dumping chemicals like that in their body, a lot of things quit growing. Emotion, mentally, spiritually. Whatever your conception was, at that age you started using, it stopped right there. Now, I started using it about 11 or 12. My conception of God at that age, I was scared to death of him. I start using, it stops growing. Physically, I keep growing. I'm 15, I'm 20. But I got the conception of God of a little punk ass kid. I hit 30, 35. I'm facing adult problems now. And I still got the conception of God of some little kid. Small wonder it seemed pretty inadequate, huh? 39. I come into this program. I quit using it. I start growing spiritually again. My conception of God catches up with my physical being. And now I got something to fall back on. How many of y'all, the least little thing happens, y'all crumble like a house of cards? But you want to walk around here like, I'm a man. I'm a manly man. But the least little thing happens, you crumble. And this is how you crumble. Boom. How many of y'all, if I told you, you wouldn't make a pimple on a man's rear end, you would get highly offended, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Yeah. And if I asked you if you were a man, how many of y'all would say? What would you say? What would you say? I didn't. I said, whoa. Let me ask you this. Let's say me and you were talking to 3 or 4 good-looking girls. And I say, hey, bro, you a man? Yeah, you would. What would you say? What would you say? What would you say? Yeah. You're the only one that could. What would you say? What would you say? Now, what's a man to you? Somebody that handles their business. What kind of business? Whoa. What kind of business? Huh? Provide for your family. Financially? Wait, financially? Spiritual? Emotional? Do you do that? I didn't ask you that. Okay. Who else? What's a man to you? Yeah. Okay. Provide for the family. Financially? Spiritually? Emotionally? Do you do that? You can't even say it. I know. Look, how many of y'all, your conception of God is still when you was a little bitty kid? Now, I want you to turn your book to page 55. I want you to start reading. The first paragraph down, action. Go. Imagine that. Okay, now it says deep down, every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. Now, where is one place you have never, ever, ever looked? Deep down. How many of y'all, every time you start getting a glimpse of the real you, you go, oh, oh. Now, if you take these steps, guess where they're going to allow you to look? Somewhere you've never looked. And guess who you're going to discover? God. Now, I have people come in here all the time. They say, I got to find God. Well, God ain't lost. He's been here a long time. Now, when you get ready to do something wrong, which is quite often, and you know it's wrong, how many of y'all hear a little voice that says, hey, don't do that? Do you hear that? Now, if it's something you really want to do you block that voice out and do what? And when you do what you want to do, knowing it's wrong, do you normally face consequences? And when the consequences are hit, does the voice come back louder the second time and say, I told you not to do that? What do you call that? Well, you know, I would agree with you, but if you really believe that your whole life, you'd have listened to it. Well, we agree on one thing. Now, how many of y'all, when you get ready to do something wrong, and you know it's wrong, you hear that little voice and it says, do that? You can call that whatever you want. Most people call that their conscience. And I'll prove to you it's not your conscience. The first time you hear that voice,
I don't hear a voice. My stomach.
same thing. Same thing. It's from deep down within you. Now, when you hear that voice of your stomach, every single time has it been right. So there's no way that could be your conscience because it's always right. No, I'm pretty positive it's not because it's always right. And there's only one entity in this universe that's always right, and that is God. Now, when you block God's voice out and do what you want, that's your damn conscience. That's why you are in here. Now, I want you to listen to this. With the steps removed, so when that's removed, guess what I flow into?
Power.
But normal people, whatever that is, they have two things. What's right and what's wrong. My father's one of those normal people. He's not perfect, but he's damn close. He got up sick, well, went to work all the time. And he had two things. What was right, what was wrong. Now, us alcoholics, we're special. We have three things. We have what's right, what's wrong, and what I want to do. And what I want to do like to damn near kill me. So if I can get what I want to do out of the way, guess what's not a biggie for me anymore? Right and wrong. When that's removed, as a result of those steps, I flow into, and that removes that. Start doing that every day. And it taps me deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into that power where nothing that life throws me shakes me. Nothing. How many of y'all in here, y'all like a ship at sea without a rudder? Every way the wind blows, that's which way you go. Now, when somebody, as a result of those steps, taps into that, they have a design now on how to start living again. And every day they do that, they tap into that deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, I want you to listen to this. When I came in here, I wasn't concerned about tapping into no power. I wanted that bitch gone. And when they told me the only way that was going to happen is if I tapped into that, that's when I became interested in doing that. Not until. Now, when I did that, I got more than I ever bargained for. Not only did I tap into that and that got removed, but it started doing some other shit I never could do. And one of them was be a father. A father. A husband. A brother. Son. An uncle. Friend. And as I like to think of, good employee. Now, how many of y'all come in here and you think you already that? How many of y'all this thing's got you so self-deluded you think you somewhere that you really ain't? How many of y'all from Baton Rouge? You know where the Greyhound bus station is? What's your first name? Barker? If you went to the Greyhound bus station and right in front of you was a bus going to San Antonio, Texas. You with me? If you wanted to go to San Antonio, Texas, and the bus is right there, would you believe you already in San Antonio? Would you get on the bus? Wait a minute, listen to me. The bus is in front of you, going to San Antonio, but you believe you already in San Antonio. I know you would. Now, how many of y'all, they got a bus that's going to bring you to San Antonio? But y'all believe you already in San Antonio. Would you get on the bus? Because you believe you're something that you really aren't. When I went through the second time, I'm really listening. I'm like a sponge. And it's all making sense. And what really stuck out to me more than anything, I was so full of shit, it was pathetic. And that's why people didn't want nothing to do with me. Not because of the drinking and the drugging. How many of we took the drugs and the alcohol away, we still got a selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate person? They just sober now. And shit really starts coming out sideways then. Before we move on, what do 4 through 9 do? When self's removed, I flow into. How do I keep self out the way? This shit is so simple that you could get a bunch of real kindergartners in here, explain it to them, and they would get it like that. Would you take a bunch of grown-up kindergartners and bring them in here and explain simple shit to them and go, whoop? Now, what's the difference between a real kindergartner and a grown-up kindergartner? Self. Guess what hadn't had time to develop in a real kindergartner? Self-will. So you can teach them. But what's ingrained in you? Self. You know everything about everything. And nobody can tell you nothing. My 96-year-old father, he's seen both sides. We'll be talking, drinking coffee. We'll talk about some of the shit I did over here. And at first, we'll start laughing about it. Now, all of a sudden, he'll quit laughing. He'll go, yeah, that's when you was a genius. And you knew everything. And nobody could tell you nothing. You know the result of this program? Watching a parent who used to look at you with just utter just disgust. For them to look at you now and you could just see it. Kids, same thing. But not using, having this removed is the tip of the iceberg. If y'all had any clue what these steps could do for you, they would need none of us working here. Y'all would all come in here, y'all get in that book, y'all do it yourself. But we know some of y'all really don't want this. So that's why they keep us here. I want y'all to turn y'all's big books to page 45. Once you go down to the, wait a minute, well, the first paragraph. So we're going to start. Like a power. I want you to start reading that. Go. Look, how many of y'all know what a dilemma is? Do you know what a dilemma is? What? You ain't far off, like horseshoes. A dilemma means you have what? A dilemma means you got two choices and you don't like either one. That's a dilemma. Have you ever had a toothache? Right when it started hurting, did you say, I am going to the dentist like right now? I sure as fuck didn't because I scared to death of dentists. When I would get a toothache, I would go, you know, it ain't hurting that bad right now. I don't fucking want to go to the dentist. I think it'll quit hurting, especially if I eat on this side. So the tooth starts getting back worse. Pain starts getting a little worse. Now the alternative still is the dentist. So this is what I say next. Well, if I brush the teeth harder and I really don't eat on that side, I think the tooth will regenerate itself, which it never does. Now, how many of y'all have ever had a tooth when the air hit it, it brought you to your knees? What'd you want to do then? Go to fucking dentist. Now, how many of y'all got a bad tooth? And it's not bad yet. So you really don't want to go to the dentist. But when that son of a bitch becomes bad enough, you will run. And nothing will stop you. Ever, never. Now, some people can take more ass kicking than others. I used to think taking an ass kicking was an attribute. Drugs and alcohol kicked my. Now I put up a good fight, but it finally kicked my ass. Now, how many of y'all is just mangling you up a little bit right now? So you ain't really interested in all of this. You just want to get to some meetings. When it finally finishes you off, we'll run over here. Now, I want you to listen to what he's going to read. Go. Hold on, man. Get your book up there. No, boy, you missed some stuff. Our dilemma. Got it. Okay. Now, that's what you just read. We had to find a power by which we could live. Now, how many of y'all have not lived in a long time? How many of y'all have been existing? That sucks, don't it? Don't it? You know, I got a sneaking suspicion when you out there using, all you can think about is them kids at home. Huh? Have we ever met? Have we ever met? I promise you, she ain't called up here and told me about you. One can spot it and another one like that. How many of y'all ain't lived in a long damn time? You've been existing. And that shit sucks. It sucks so bad. You have to use over it. That's the only way you can live. Temporarily. Now, I want you to listen to what he's going to read. Go. Now, he tells you it had to be a power greater than ourselves. Now, who can tell me what kind of writing that is? Huh? That's what educated people call it. Us alcoholics call it drunk ass writing. Now, when somebody puts that kind of a writing in a book, it's important. It's very important. Now, did it say a power equal to you?
No.
Less than you?
No.
It said, now I want you to look around. I'm giving you permission for just a minute to look around the room. Do y'all see any powers less than you in this room? Hey, I said a minute. Do y'all see any powers greater than you in here? Do y'all see any powers greater than you in here? What I see in here are a lot of powers equal to me. Now, if I just go to meetings, I'm with a bunch of powers equal to me. It's saying it takes a power. How do I tap into that? The step.
Get rid of self.
Now, when somebody puts that important writing in a book, that drunk writing, they follow it up with a one-word sentence. They're telling you the point they just made is doubly important. Now, this is how I read it. Had to be a power greater than ourselves. And then it says, a dumbass, obviously. Now, I want you to listen to what he's going to read. If you're not here for this, you're in the wrong institution again. Go. Question mark. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to answer it for you. Go. Son of a bitch. Ain't that some shit? Let me see your book. How many of y'all get this book It says Alcoholics Anonymous. So y'all think this book is about alcoholism. This book has nothing to do with alcoholism, actually. The only reason they talk about it in the beginning is to get you to see where you at. And once you see where you're at, that's when they spring the main purpose of the book on you. Now, this is the second best-selling book that has ever been put on paper. And the reason it's the second best is the second most spiritual book that's ever been put on paper. Do you know the best-selling book that's ever been put on paper? The bigger book called the Bible. You know why it's the best-selling book? The most spiritual. This is the dumbass's version of the bigger book. Now, I look at it like this. God put that book on paper for people like, no, me. You may not be like me. So I look at it like that and I go, man, he must really love people like me. You ain't got to do that. We're not in the church today.
Serious.
I know, me too.
Serious.
Now, how many of y'all in here? Y'all think being in here, being an alcoholic is the worst thing that could ever happen to you? How many of y'all think that? I know, I did too at one time. When I was here, or when I got over here, I went, son of a bitch, that's the best thing that ever happened to me being an alcoholic. Look, all the shit I tried to do all those years, be a father, be a son, be a brother, all that shit I tried to do, and I failed miserably. I get over here, and all of a sudden, it's fucking just easy for you. Look, I got more material shit now than I ever have. I come from under a bridge. A bridge. I got a place today. No, I wouldn't tell none of y'all where it's at. I sit on my couch and I look over about 3 acres. They go 18-foot windows, swimming pool and shit. And I go, wait a minute, hold on. Yep, it's mine. It's mine. That ain't bad being an alcoholic, is it? Look, how many of y'all, you don't know? You don't know? You can't. I never knew that. I didn't know what I didn't know. Look, I didn't know I never had been tapped into this power until I tapped into it. And once I tapped into it, I went, I never was tapped in. Ever. I was around it, but I never was tapped in. Y'all got any comments? We're going a little bit longer. Question or comment?
Question.
Ask it.
Would you recommend starting the steps on your own, or would you recommend waiting until you get a sponsor?
Well, not recommend you doing them on your own. And this is why. Okay? This book to you is like Chinese algebra. Now, if somebody gave you a book of Chinese algebra and they said, look, you got 35 days to learn it. If you don't, we're going to chop your head off. What are the chances you can learn it? Yeah. Now, if they said, well, we're going to give you an interpreter who knows Chinese and is master at algebra, would you follow that some bitch around like your life? Well, you have a book of Chinese algebra, and they have given you an interpreter who knows algebra. Anybody else before we move on? Comment?
Came here from another 8 days, and they had 2 different teachers. I sat there for 8 days looking at similar drawings like you have up there. And I couldn't get it.
I know.
You're good.
Well, wait a minute. Look,
You broke it down.
I've been where you're sitting. Okay? And I had people telling me stuff that was going right over my head because they tried to teach me where they were at. You got to teach people where they're at. And I can get down to that level.
Now, aren't you done though? Why?
Well, they might, because they probably came through with me. Where did you get it? That says it.
The place that I was at recently, they both of the instructors learned from.
All right. Well, all right, last one, we're moving on. Go.
Okay, so I don't know, might be a little off topic, but like, why do you got? What is the meaning behind suggesting like IOP and sober living? Like, so like,
Okay.
what do you?
Her question is, why do we push IOP and sober living? Okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I know-
Most of y'all think it's because of money. And it's not.
No, I don't think that.
Look, I'm telling you, when I get paid, it has no bearing on whether y'all go or don't go. The reason we push that, okay, if you knew anything about this, you would know. You have a better shot at this if you're around people like yourself and you get a lot of this 24/7. Now, the way it goes, you go to detox. The first step, detox, inpatient, IOP, that's intensive outpatient, then outpatient. Now, let's say you went to sober living and you're still in a cocoon. You're surrounded with people in recovery. Do you think the chances go up a little bit? And look, I'm telling you, for one of us to make it, it's not that great. So I have to take advantage of everything I can. I went to sober living for a year and one day. I did not want to go. I wanted to go home. And I look back now, and if I'd have went home, I'd probably be dead. But sober living is a nice place that you can get your feet on the ground. You can finish up some recovery and hopefully have a foundation under your feet where you ain't got to come back here. Let's just say for shits and giggles, you went for 6 months and you never had to come back here. Would it be worth it? How long have you been sticking around with this?
It's for like people that already have houses, cars, and jobs.
Look, what I'm not getting into is specifics like that. This is what I'll tell you. Okay, this is what I'm going to tell you. Okay, do I think everybody needs to go to sober living? No. Do I think about 90% of people do? I do. I'll give you one scenario. You have a mother. Okay, she's got 3 kids. She's got to go home and take care of. She has a job. She has a car. She has a house. She needs to go home. Well, again, look, you'll never trick me into saying what you think you want me to say. Good try. Last question, we moving on.
321 sober living. Compare it. I mean, I know it's new.
You can talk to Josh and Robin about that.
Okay.
Okay. Before we close up in here, okay, I want y'all to turn y'all's big books to page 164. Yep, 164. I want you to go to the middle of that page. It says, our book is meant to be suggestive only. Now, if you were 30,000 feet in an airplane and you had a parachute on your back and you were about to jump out, what do they suggest you do? Pull the damn ripcord. And if you don't, you're going to end up flat as a pancake. They make suggestions to you, but they're really bust. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation. Have to do meditation to ask. Which you can do each day for the man who's still sick. They're not talking about the ones out there, they're talking about me. The answer will come if your own house is in order. Look, you cannot help somebody get a splinter out of their eye if you got a damn log up in yours. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relation with Him is right. Not talking about guys. And great events will come to pass for you and countless others, like your families. Because if you get this, they get it. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. That's steps 1, 2, and 3. Admit your faults to Him and your fellows. That's 4, 5, 6, and 7. Clear away the wreckage of your past. That's 8 and 9. Give freely of what you find and join us. That's 10, 11, and 12. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge that road of happy destiny. Trudge means to walk with a purpose. May God bless you and keep you until then. Now,